Good morning, I'm Linda Hinz, and at this DLD we have heard and learned so much about the importance of biodiversity and the serious impact that its loss will have on our quality of life and the very foundations of our life. And at least at this conference, it seems it is a common sense that we must do everything that is possible to preserve it. However, in order to be able to implement the most effective measures, it is crucial to be able to measure the success as well. And this is what this panel is about. Because as often, it's not that simple. The current methods for measuring biodiversity are often imprecise and difficult to scale. And that's why the startup Hula Earth has developed a new method. And in doing so, it is supported by Würth Elektronik, and that is why we have Alexander Gerfer with us, who will introduce himself shortly.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear us very well. I'm Alexander Gerfer. I'm the CTO of Würth Elektronik. We belong to the bigger Würth group. We do manufacture electronic components and have a technical team helping engineers designing it in. So make a short test. Whom of you is having a mobile phone? Please show up. In the mobile phone we are not in. Who has a washing machine at home? Okay, we are there with 20 components, so to say, inside. So we are the partner of the Mittelstand or young talents or young companies going to be a young Mittelstand, hopefully soon. So we enable innovation by doing this. So I'm responsible for product design, quality, and all this around startup support overall.
And this young man here, I think the first one who carried a tree on the stage, is David Schmider, who had the shortest way here, I think, today.
Yeah, we worked like 1 minute from here, just down the hallway, so that's pretty good. So I would also introduce myself quickly. My name's David. I'm co-founder and CTO of Hula Earth. And I will tell a little bit about my background just shortly, so all the rest makes sense. I come from a really small but beautiful village in the Black Forest. Grew up super close to nature on a farm, actually, and then after I finished school, went traveling, lots of it overland, so I really got to see just a small fraction of the world, but of that small fraction, lots of diversity, and yeah, I fell in love with it, then decided to move to Munich, studied something technical, informatics in my case, computer science. And then last year, both me and my co-founder, who can't be here today, unfortunately, decided to use our skills for something beneficial, hopefully, and yeah, that's how we decided to found Hula.
So how does this measurement work? What's new about it?
So basically our innovation comes from the insight that the whole MRV space in biodiversity measurement is pretty fragmented. So there are lots of different solutions. I think someone yesterday here showed Audio Moth, a small recording device, but it just only does recording. You have to then use the data, upload it to some software, analyze it, then use the analyzed data, visualize it, and all that. It's very a fragmented process, as I said before. And we decided that it shouldn't have to be that way, and it really can't be that way if we want to convince companies to monitor within their own value chain, doing insetting. And the reason for that is that obviously it's very difficult to deal with lots of different technologies if you don't have experts for it, and most companies don't have experts for it. So we decided to basically streamline the whole process, build one platform where we do everything from data collection, where we build our own hardware, that one right there, we'll talk about it later, by satellite data, build the data pipelines, visualize it in a dashboard, and build kind of like a hierarchy where you can start at the very top, understand in basically one glance what the approximate biodiversity might be in a region, and then drill down, get into the different indicators if you're more of an expert, and get the whole package in one go, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We will look at this little box later in detail. But first, we will talk about how the two of you came together, which was actually here at the Makerspace, Alexander.
Absolutely, yeah, we are in Makerspace as well. Inside here, the Makerspace as company. And makerspaces are making things happening, right? The rapid prototyping and the right things fast to be designed. And for us, it's very important as an industrial partner to say, do it in the beginning in the right way, in the best way possible. So when you want to scale up, you can scale up much more faster by doing so. Because, and that's the reason, I was also having my own startup long time ago. I was very young. But we did fail. Things can go wrong in the design and the thinking you have. And they fail mostly not because of the financial support. It's sometimes the small things not on your radar. Yeah, and can be a component is not deeming to do what it should do for you, or eventually, more simple, you cannot get the component. That happened to me, so we failed because of in that times it was 10 Pfennig, or a long time ago, see how old I am. We didn't get this component for our second build of second presentation. We had to build up 10 units instead of one, also from
when you were having a startup.
Yeah, but okay, then we could not go for the next round, and good. The other thing is I'm here now, okay?
Yeah.
Other thing is we want to make these things really going to life, and when we see such kind of ideas really coming and popping up, we are even more motivated to support them.
So biodiversity may not be the first thing that comes to one's mind when you think of a component manufacturer, but I know that you promote various innovations connected to the issue of sustainability. At the DLD in January, you talked about support for microalgae growth, and today it's about biodiversity measurement. So what's the guiding principle here for you? Which startups, which ideas to support?
Yeah. So good, there are two sides of the thing. One thing is the intrinsic motivation, like David, I'm coming from a small farm, and we have seen all these changes. How long can you really work on your farmland? So we at least, or my parents had to give up that. And we see now all these dramatic changes going even faster and faster, and sometimes you think it's a slow change, but you're surprised how many things go even more dramatic in the future. So we know, and we have also our own forest, and we have now a lot of work in the forest. We planted 1,000 trees just 6 months ago. So it's really it's a hard work, and you have to cope with all the challenges coming up. And so that's one thing is where I am, we detect my team such things like how can we support whatever, farmers, rangers, whatever is good, or even the industry by good solutions to think different and measure things different or do things different like vertical farming and so on. That's where we jump in and say, here we give our full expertise into it. Then we have a full team of young talents also in our company joining that process of making things happen. And as a company, we want to give something back as a social responsibility. And hopefully we are also in the case like a role model for the industry to do quite the same as we do as Würth Group. So to give a bit back in real life, so to say.
Yeah, and in the best case, it's not only about helping, but also about making it more of a business case, I guess.
Of course.
I would wonder if you wouldn't think about this.
Absolutely, of course. But when we do a very good job, we are very confident that we will be considered in the mass production, so to say. But really the most important thing is, especially in designing in our expertise, my expertise, do it in the beginning as best as you can. In the beginning, you decide the overall cost at the end. If the design is not in the beginning best set up, then you lose later on your cost in different things of remodifications, and your product is not at least deeming to be competitive in the market. Mm-hmm. But most of all, the solution has to be arrive in the market first before you get copied. And that's why we are happy to be also in the maker space. Yeah, make the things happening fast prototyping, but already in the view of able to be in a mass production scale, ready from the beginning.
Okay. So we already are talking about the prototype. I think, David, you could explain a little more.
Yeah, sure. So
how this works.
Basically, the idea is that we want to make the process of deploying our hardware as simple as possible. You shouldn't be an expert, or you shouldn't need to be an expert in order to use Hoola. So we decided to design everything so that it can be remotely controlled. So basically, when we ship the boxes, don't have to go there ourselves. We place a small, how is it called, a pin on a map to decide where it needs to be placed, give some minor instructions, and then it can be hung up there, normally with a strap system. I don't have it here right now. And then you just flip one switch, and now it's done. Like the rest we can do remotely. There's communication tech in there. There's like a modem connecting via LTE to the internet. Next iteration, or maybe the one after that, will also have satellite connectivity if we are in really, really remote places. Yeah, and then from then on, you essentially are good to go. You don't really have to go there a lot. You don't have to exchange the battery, because usually there is a solar panel attached as well to make it self-sufficient. I didn't place it here because there's really no need. I thought I can explain it easily. So yeah, that's that.
And what is still needed to go into serious production?
Yeah, so right now we basically hand make these, and I think you can kind of see it. It's not the sexiest device, but yeah, we are working on, like together with Würth Elektronik, we will now design a custom casing. That's one thing. Then the other thing is making the PCB like serious manufacturable, essentially, because right now we designed the PCB in a way where we then order the PCB, still have to solder some of the things ourselves, and that's just a lot of work that we can't do really in the long run. Like we have to outsource the manufacturing. We are a tech company, we are not a manufacturer, and Würth Elektronik can really help us in getting there, designing the PCBs, making sure we will be able to get all the certifications, making sure it's completely weather and climate proof, all of that stuff. So yeah.
And that sounds simple.
Yeah,
but in detail, it's a lot of details.
To me, it doesn't sound that simple.
Yeah. And that's why we partner up. We can say, take an example. Inside is a sensor we have to measure, and measuring is done by sensors. You have an acoustic sensor, a microphone, of course, to hear the birds, how they act. And you can count them then later on. Also, is really my 10% in the forest given or not, as shown yesterday. But there's another sensor inside. So, and for us, we have to learn from the user what is your so-called mission profile, we call it. Also, what does it see in reality outside? Well, which shock, vibration, temperature changes, whatever. And then with the user to say, out of this wide range of sensors, this one is deeming good for the job and has to be adopted in this and that way. That's what we call then really the teaming up and the partnering up to make these small things. When I come as a young student from university, from the technical high schools, I'm not in the component detail, we have to say. And that's why we're here in Makerspace and other places as well, to say, but don't get crazy about it. Yeah, we ask us, the experts, and we go even further. If sometimes we don't have the answer, we have in our customer range venture, a different engineer had the same problem again, so we make connections. Yeah? We have to be fast, we have to design the things are happening now, we have to be designing the things faster and even faster to begin the things we want to do and to make the measurements like you happening, and then we can discuss much more further from there. So as a partner, where we say we take this responsibility and give the maximum support in this design-ins to make them and him and his company and your partner maximum successful on this.
Yeah, as we know, this issue is very urgent. So let's look at the possible impact. David, what is this measurement really used for to improve and make progress?
So there are really a few things you can use the data for. Some of those you can do already. Some will require lots of data collection, lots of data mining, integration of different sources of data. I would first start maybe with the stuff we can do right now. So basically, if you deploy our device right now, we call it BioT, by the way, I didn't mention that yet, so leaning on IoT. If you deploy it somewhere, you basically, you capture microclimate, you capture primarily the bio-acoustic soundscape, and then we also collect satellite data, as I mentioned before. And doing all of this, we can now already make quantitative claims about levels of biodiversity in different environments. So, for example,
this means every species that makes a sound will be on this box?
Yeah, but essentially, if you can hear it, the device can hear it. That's a good way of thinking of it. Of course, you can use better microphones than the human ear can capture. Like if you sample at 320 kilohertz, for example, you can hear lots of things, also bats, for example, that we can't hear. But yeah, essentially, if it makes a noise, it will show up. Yeah, it also has to be close enough, obviously, but the range is pretty big, so. Well, and then, yeah, so we can make claims about biodiversity or different levels of biodiversity in different ecosystems, and that data can be used to, report, because like European companies have to do that now. Like if you have any kind of land use, you will be pretty much forced to report your impact, and yeah, for that primary data is necessary, and we deliver this primary data on the one hand. But on the other hand, there is also the aspect of using measured biodiversity as a proxy for ecosystem viability or climate resilience, quality of products, quality of crop. So especially, like for now, it's especially a high-value crop that is affected by that. Some French companies have realized this already a few years ago. Right now, they are doing lots of manual data collection, sending humans to the field, and there are obvious issues with that. We can replace that. So yeah, that's the first part of the answer, and considering the time, I would maybe skip the second part, unless you want me to go.
If you keep it very short, I think we can go further.
As we see the example here, we have some dashboards here. Like you collect the data, and the most relevant data for this biodiverse thing we want to measure and see. Yeah. And that is remote. That's very important because manpower to send there or in a forest is not so easy, especially when it's very with a high slope to send and to monitor and to watch and see does my area do what I wanted to do? Is it a good habitat for more birds or whatever? So that is what the box can do, and really remote. That's a fun story about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I would take 30 seconds or so to talk a bit about what we think we can do in the future. So I mentioned before that we have to do lots of data mining and data integration of different data sources that are already available, and of course gather lots of data ourselves. And I think it's going to be realistic in a while, in hopefully not only a few years, but maybe a short few years, let's say. To be able to derive insights as well. So the idea is to essentially build a large association map, more or less, that's how you can think of it, between data captured on the ground, data captured by satellites, actions taken on the ground, and impact that is happening in some given period of time after action was taken, in order to suggest actions in different project fields. But we're not there yet.
To really learn from that.
Yeah, exactly, like basically extracting as much knowledge and potential action as possible, but yeah, that will take lots of engineering work, lots of time, still money as well, and maybe can take another 15 seconds here to maybe do like a call to action. So if you're listening to this and you're a young engineer, somebody who's fascinated by the topic, a data scientist, a machine learning engineer, work in embedded. Reach out to us, Hula Earth on LinkedIn. We're hiring, so please.
Using the stage here, all good. So, Alexander, you already mentioned that you have a forest yourself. So, do you already have a box like this, or will you get one?
Not yet. I hope he will give it as a gift, right? But we had just an impact just a few weeks ago where we had a big thunderstorm and a lightning strike. And it was so dramatic, loud. We were sitting at home and looking, is our house hidden, or the house of my brother and my family? It was not. And then we planted a forest, as I said before, and we fenced it wonderful, and not that the deer eating up all the young trees. And then the ranger came 1.5 weeks later telling us, oh, the tree was hidden and cut through all the fences we made, and the deer were again inside that forest. So if the box would have hung there already, we would have gotten even an acoustic, more dramatic signal to say something was wrong in that field.
Using as an alarm.
Absolutely,
okay,
yeah, because it's another impact this can be done. That's, of course, would be very interesting to do. Now we have to repair it by ourselves, and the trees have gone again by the deer. So
yeah, we don't sell them, but we will for sure give you one. So
perfect.
So thank you, the two of you. I really hope that this little box will help to preserve a lot of species. And now we're done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.